Hello and welcome to part 2 of episode 2 where I talk about Star Wars Infinities. Now this one is The Empire Strikes Back and it by far has the biggest changes. So I'm really going to have to hurry with this one. I apologize in advance, but there's so much stuff that happens that's different because of this. It's definitely the biggest change in the end, and it's, oh my god. And it's probably my least favorite because of it, but it totally makes, the series makes up for it with Return of the Jedi, and that's going to be my next one, and that is, oh my god. But anyway, Empire Strikes Back, here we go. So the beginning is pretty much the same. Han goes out to save Luke. Luke is in a cave, but the change occurs when Han's Tauntaun dies, and he gets to Luke too late, and Luke dies. That's right, Luke died. It's the most, oh my god, it ruins it. I hate that. So they have a funeral for Luke, and while that happens, the Empire actually gets fighters under the Rebel shield, because they're all, I don't know why, because I guess they're distracted or something. So the fighters blow up the walkers, so they can blow up the shield generator faster. And the Rebels are, tons of them are trapped. They have, like, a lot of them get blown up because there's no ion cannon anymore. There's no, the Rebel transports get wrecked. So then Han pulls his stick into the thing with the and then the trash earlier. They don't even go into the asteroid field. They just stick to a ship and during the battle. So they immediately go to Cloud City instead of having a delay. So they actually beat the Empire and Fett there. And they're there, and then Fett shows up and threatens Calrissian. He's like, hand Solo over. But instead, Calrissian gets Boba Fett trapped. Chewie and some guards attack him. They knock him out after a big fight with him and Solo and everybody. They knock him out, and then they cut, and then Fett basically just disappears for a little bit. And then it goes to the hyperdrive is fixed, the Empire still hasn't shown up, and the Falcon leaves just as a Star Destroyer goes over Cloud City. And it turns out Lando has a new desk, which is really funny in a minute. And Vader calls and is like, connect me with Fett, give me Solo. And he's like, oh no, Fett's not here. And it turns out that Fett was encased in carbonite and turned into Calrissian's desk, which is actually really funny. So then Vader's like, oh, well, Fett's gone and the Rebels escaped, so you must be Rebel City. So then they blow up Cloud City. And it doesn't actually say whether Lando escapes. I don't think he does, because the whole thing, wow, that thing flies down really fast. In like 2 minutes, the city gets blown up. So they go to Dagobah, because Luke had told Han to go to Dagobah to train as a Jedi. But they get there, and Yoda just immediately greets them as Yoda, and tells Leia that she's going to be a Jedi. And he'd hoped for Luke, but he's like, okay, Leia, you're just as good. You're a Skywalker too. You're the wrong Skywalker, but you're just as good. So they're like, oh geez. So Han's like, no, Leia, you'll be safe with me. And Yoda basically tells him, forget you, man. I'm a Jedi Master. Get out of here. So, and then Yoda's like, okay, Leia, let's go. And Han leaves. And Yoda actually gives Leia a lightsaber that's purple and is not Mace Windu's. I don't know where he got that from. So then Falcon leaves, and it cuts to many months later where Leia is training as a Jedi and has, just like Luke in the last one, magically materialized a cloak, and now she looks like a Jedi all of a sudden. So there's this random scene where Yoda throws rocks, she hits them, a giant monster appears made out of water, Leia stabs it and causes this massive explosion, so she basically looks like a retard. Yoda's like, yet learned you have not the hazards of using a superheated blade against a foe made mainly of water. And Yoda looks disgusting because there's sewage monster all over him. So then it cuts to Vader blowing up cities, and this officer's like, oh, maybe Skywalker's dead, because Vader's looking for him, and he's like, no way, you better hope that's not true. And the officer's like, but I heard he was dead on Hoth. You're done if you bring that up again. So then it turns out that Vader hired more bounty hunters and some more probe droids, and then it just cuts to Han, who apparently got enough money to pay off Jabba, meets up with this guy who'll give the money to Jabba as a go-between, and then that guy sells them out to Jabba anyway. So Han and Chewie and R2 and 3PO still end up going to Jabba, and they get trapped, and they get put in the pit instead of Luke, and there's actually Neeks, which are those big clawed cat things from episode 2. There's 2 of them. And 3PO is still the translator droid, and R2 is somehow just walking around, and he actually opens the gate so Han and Chewie can get out of the pit. And they do, and Chewie actually picks up one of the Neeks and throws it at the other one, and they get out while the Neeks take Neku. I don't know how to pronounce it. Whatever. They attack the guards. Jabba freaks out and is like, "Oh my God, they're coming for us!" And Han, Chewie, and R2 steal a ship. And it cuts away, and the next morning it says Vader gets to the palace, and pretty much everyone inside is dead except Jabba. And he's like, "Oh, make a note, no more Neku or Nexu, whatever. Maybe something controllable like a Rancor," which doesn't make sense, but is obviously play on episode 6. So Vader Vader goes inside and tells Jabba, "Give me Han. I heard you have Han and Chewie. Give me them." So Jabba's like, "Oh, they escaped." Vader sees 3PO and is like, "Okay, that droid's mine." So Jabba's like, "Whatever, I don't really care. It was Solo's droid. I'm glad to get rid of this thing." So Vader takes it, and the annoying officer from before is like, "Lord Vader, where's Solo? What happened? I don't get it." And Vader's like, "All I need is this droid." So basically, Vader has a scene where it's him and 3PO having, it almost seems like a touchy moment for a sec, because Vader's like, "No apologies are necessary." When 3PO's like, "I can't tell you that." So then Vader just rips off 3PO's head and basically tortures it with an electroprod until it tells him to go that Skywalker's at Dagobah. So Vader sends his Super Star Destroyer to Dagobah, where Leia's training, and Yoda's like this, and basically Yoda tells her to go to a cave, or she says she can see a cave where her crystal for a lightsaber is. So Yoda says, "Take the crystal out of your lightsaber you've been using and put yours in it." And we don't have the materials for a lightsaber, even though we have the materials for a cloak. Oh my gosh, whatever. You know what? I don't even care. So Vader shows up, confronts Yoda. Yoda basically sends him on a mind trip where he sees lots of things from Anakin's past. He fights a lot of the Jedi that he fought before, who basically rip away his armor through piece by piece. And then eventually the Vader from the thing disintegrates, and this kid comes out of the wreckage of the armor, and is like, "Oh my God, I'm so scared." And Yoda's like, "Don't be afraid anymore." But then the Anakin kid actually has black eyes. Looks like a creepy monster thing. The little kid, not Vader. And he's like, "But you do have things to fear." And Leia's like, "No." And Vader cuts off Yoda's arm, and Leia cuts off his arm. So everyone's arms are getting cut off. Vader starts fighting her, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't expect you. I expected your brother. But you'll do. We can take over the galaxy together anyway." So actually, this is when Han and Chewie show up, and out of screen, they shoot Vader in the head and chest, killing him. This Force user is dead from a blaster. So Vader, she takes off his helmet, and Vader's like, I have a daughter." And he dies, and Yoda is like, "Gotta find," and Yoda is like, "You gotta find other Jedi and train them," and then he disappears, because his arm got cut off, and apparently that's bad at old age. So then there's one last page where Han is like, "Leia, I thought Vader was gonna kill you," and Leia's like, "Don't be sorry, he was gonna kill me. It doesn't matter now, though. He found peace in the end." And then they basically leave, and are like, Leia's like, "We have a galaxy to save." And then Vader's again in a funeral pyre, and his head is floating in the smoke for no reason. And that is Star Wars Infinities Empire Strikes Back. This one's also pretty much hitting the time limit, but I've saved the best for last. Return of the Jedi is awesome. The only thing comparable is Yoda crashing into the Death Star into Coruscant. But check back for part 3 of this episode, and you'll find out what it is.